biting into a yummy big bowl of Jell-O, and then one little weird crunchy nugget. Ugh. Hello everyone, this is Prodigy, Star Trek Prodigy. I always wonder what they go with for the abbreviations of these shows. Is this going to be ST Pro? Maybe it's going to be STP, even though we have Star Trek Picard, even though I think Picard is just PIC, P-I-C. Regardless, first episode's out. I always love when we can start a new show on our show. And I always love when it's something fresh and something animated. It's good when you can watch something and it's just standard fare, bog standard Star Trek adventure, okay? I would describe this episode as standard, which in terms of first episodes, knocks it out of the park. We only need standard now. We've been conditioned to accept awkward nightmare from live-action Star Trek for the past few years. But we're getting standard, guys. Isn't that cool? You ready to get normal? Here, guys, have plain normal. Oh, thanks. No. So good. Give me more. I was so used to eating garbage. But now I got normal. Which is Star Trek Prodigy. Always difficult reviewing a show that is clearly serialization, I guess they call it. Prodigy is one large overarching story, okay? Star Trek Lower Decks, TOS, TNG, classic Star Trek, was all single episode plots that didn't necessarily connect to the next one. What was good about that was that if you had a very bad episode, you could just say, hey, we only gotta wait till next week. But with a serialized show like Picard or Discovery, or this, a bad episode is just a sign of things to come, you see, because every episode has to link together into one cohesive whole. Or in terms of Discovery or Picard, a non-cohesive amorphous mass. So when I say anything about Star Trek Prodigy, just understand that I'm reviewing one tiny part of a much bigger story, okay? So a review score for Prodigy is fundamentally different than a review score for, say, Lower Decks, okay? Lower Decks, you're very much reviewing that specific episode. You review Prodigy or the other serialized shows, you're reviewing more how you feel at the moment. It's like a stopgap. We're just on this journey, and we're taking a stop, and we're asking how you feel so far. Okay? So, with that being said, let's warp right in to Prodigy. Star Trek Prodigy, of course, is a 3D animated show. And to get it right out of the gate, I thought the show was beautiful. It has its own kind of style. It's cartoony, but not super cartoony. But it is interlaced with very ugly scenes that don't look finished, frankly, here and there. I've seen some very nasty texture work, and I've seen some unfortunate 2D elements, what I thought was 2D elements, popping onto the top layer of the 3D frame in order to trick the audience into thinking it was a cohesive, solid image. I saw 2D elements in place of 3D elements where it was too complicated to do 3D. I think I saw it. I may be imagining it. So, beautiful show, ugly moments. I'm saving the ship for later, so stay tuned. We're at a mining colony / prison. We've seen it before in Star Trek, but many times we've seen it before, it was for criminals. But this one, it really appears like it's a mining colony / prison with a purpose. Okay? And we're not fully given all the details on the purpose, so we don't know the sitch. Okay? We don't know the sitch here. But a character called the Diviner is running this prison colony. It looks like some blasted out asteroid, and they're mining on the interior of it, which I suppose has an atmosphere, artificial, probably. And they're getting a thing called chimerium. Maybe I'm saying that wrong, but we meet our main character and the quote-unquote captain of the Protostar, Dal. Okay? Dal is the only member of his species. He doesn't even know what his species is. And I don't believe we got any information on how he got here, but he's on this prison colony, and he wants to escape. Why would he not, right? Easy to empathize with. You're stuck in a prison colony / mining colony, and you want to escape. That's about it. Dal seems like a very simple, charismatic character that we can all get behind, and I like it. I like that kind of design for a main character / captain. He's a real people person. Okay? He's quick-witted, but not extremely smart, and looks like a jack of all trades. Nothing wrong with that. He immediately, at the beginning of this episode, he's hatching this harebrained scheme to get out of here, and he's thinking, oh, if I just do X, Y, and Z, if I steal this mine cart thing, I can get out of here with this, and if I cause enough slapstick gag reel, I can get out of here. So, not unlike that episode of Lower Decks where they were driving around in the space station on a wheeled vehicle, we have an overly long slapstick action sequence, which I didn't feel was needed in this show. I'm not big on that, but suffice it to say, he tries in vainly to launch the mining vehicle off a ramp into space. Again, not super smart, but brave. Perhaps bold. Maybe that's going a step too far. Bold is a big deal. The word bold in Star Trek, that's a big deal. I'm sure you know. He doesn't get away. The minecart obviously cannot reach escape velocity, and he's back where he started. But not after having met our crew of characters on this journey. On his journey, he ran into various characters that return as main characters. I'm not going to go into it here because it's frankly not important. But it turns out that Dreadnought, who was the Diviner is essentially the villain, I believe. Dreadnought is his number one guy, and Dreadnought is the enforcer, and Dreadnought wants to know where Fugitive Zero is, okay? And they believe that Dal has information on Fugitive Zero. Fugitive Zero is a Medusan who was previously used by the mining colony staff, we'll call them, to brainwash people, essentially. Drive them crazy, make them susceptible to suggestion. If you don't know, a Medusan is a life form where anyone who looks at it will immediately go crazy. I believe first introduced in TOS. But this Medusan has a robotic body. Okay? So it's safe to interact with it. Okay? So that's why you can use it as a weapon, though. If you weaponize its visage, you can drive people crazy. Okay? Interesting biological weapon, if you can call it that. Fugitive Zero is on the lam. Dal is caught, and they want to question Dal on where Fugitive Zero is, because he did see Fugitive Zero, but really doesn't know anything about Fugitive Zero. He's lying, saying he does, so that he has a bargaining chip to not get killed by Dreadnought. They never outright say kill, but I think Dreadnought would kill him, which is sad. Gwyn is the daughter of the diviner, okay? So Gwyn is like this character who can get away with things on this colony. She's still a prisoner, but she can get away with what she wants because she's the top guy's daughter, okay? And Gwyn and the diviner are the only two members of their race left, which is, I think, is going to come into play later when we reveal that the villain is sympathetic in some way. I have that feeling, but perhaps it's too really early to say that. Gwyn is friends with Dal already, so we've got a complicating factor here. Gwyn has to enforce Dal, but they're friends. Gwyn wants Dal to find Fugitive Zero, and Gwyn gives Dal a certain specific amount of time that she can protect him from Dreadnought. Okay, after that time, Dreadnought is going to have his way with him to get the deets on Fugitive Zero. So, Dal's last chance is to go down to this specific area of the mining colony, find Fugitive Zero, and hand him in, essentially. I say him, but it's not him or her, it's just an it. It's a Medusan, so it's like a ball of smoke, essentially. If we can call it that. So just remember when I say him or her, it doesn't matter. Buddy system, okay? They're going down to the dangerous core of the asteroid / mining colony. Dal is teamed up with rok-tahk, okay, who is like a large rock creature, and it's shot in such a way that we're initially very afraid of her. We'll see why that's funny later. They get into kind of an altercation, and out of misunderstanding alone, one of the mining lasers is thrown at Dal. He accidentally shoots into the ceiling and reveals an escarpment of rocks falling down. Rok-tahk saves him from these falling rocks, revealing the protostar. Holy crap, we have our way out of here. It's a pirate ship from the Goonies. We have it, if you've seen that film. We're getting out of here. We don't need to turn in Fugitive Zero. We're skipping the middleman. We can just go on the protostar. But we have to fix it. So we're employing the engineering prowess of Jane-ogram, who is someone that we ran into earlier when Dal was originally trying to escape. Jane-ogram is a Tellarite. He's not a Talaxian, even though he does look like a Talaxian. He's not. He's a Tellarite out in the Delta Quadrant. If you didn't know, the show is set in the Delta Quadrant, which explains the presence of the Kazon, who I seen one scene where they were delivering prisoners to the colony. One of them was a Kazon. Perhaps it's not very important, but Gwyn has run out of time. Gwyn is out of time. Gwyn needs to find Dal, who needs to find Fugitive Zero, and Dreadnought is right behind her. There's nothing she can do now. Dal is lying. Dal found the ship. Dal doesn't know anything about Fugitive Zero. In fact, Dal is harboring Fugitive Zero in the protostar. Dal is essentially done. Gwyn, in one final olive branch to Dal, she says, just tell the truth. Out with it. You're lying. You don't know about Fugitive Zero. I'm sorry for what's about to happen. But see, it turns out that all of our characters, rok-tahk, who was revealed to have the voice of a little girl, she's like a little baby, because she finds one of the comm badges inside the protostar, so that has universal translation technology in it. So now they understand each other. The gift of communication. We don't have to growl at each other anymore. Universal translation is banned on the colony, but not on the protostar. Rok-tahk Murph, which is just a little goop monster that's friends with rok-tahk. It's like rok-tahk's pet, and rok-tahk insisted that they take Murph onto the protostar. Okay. Jane-ogram and Dal and Gwyn are now on the scene. Our cast is here. Also Zero, Fugitive Zero. the diviner doesn't want Dreadnought and his goons to harm the protostar. That's his prize. Okay? Turns out all this mining was just wasting time until they found the protostar, which makes me think that, one, how did the diviner know that the protostar was there? Unless he's very telepathic in some way. 2, why does he want it? And 3, how is the protostar so good at hiding itself? Is the hull metal of the protostar resistant to all sensors? That's something that's not gone into in this episode, but it's something I assumed, and I hope to go into it, because if they don't, we're going to be having a big Star Trek question dangling out there, a big technological dangler that makes people wonder about things of which I don't like. But the technology is important, you see. If we question the veracity of the technology, we may just be able to question the fact that we're watching a sci-fi show. Okay? That's how suspension of disbelief works. Suspension of disbelief is a pyramid. It's like this, okay? At the very top, we believe that we're watching a sci-fi show in space and it's all real. But then at the very bottom of the period, the foundation stones are things like, does the technology make sense in universe? Okay? Is space accurately big? Are we respecting time? If those blocks should fail, the top will crumble, and we feel like Star Trek isn't real anymore. Sound familiar? So, the protostar, the firing of the phasers at the protostar, trying to disable the crew of the protostar, accidentally dislodges it from its perch, and it begins to slide off the stratum in which it was confined, holy crap, into a crevice. And wouldn't you know it, Dal and Dreadnought are still fighting on the outside of the hull. Okay? And the shields are down. And Dal has a unit that is supposed to be plugged into the shield emitter to repair it. Okay? At the request of Jane-ogram, the engineer, who has just become our engineer, guys. Dal and Dreadnought are fighting. And it's just standard action movie fare. Didn't really enjoy it. The protostar is flipping around everywhere and flying around. Somehow, Dal is able to hold on to this really smooth-looking surface. I just didn't buy it. I didn't. In this episode, what I didn't buy was the physical dexterity and strength of Dal. Dal falls all the way down onto a bed of rocks and survives. And then he's able to navigate the surface of the protostar while it's moving around. It's just a little too much, guys. You're watching a little bit too many action movies to think that this is real. Regardless, they fight. Telepathically, Zero knows that Dal wants to flip the ship. She flips the ship. Dreadnought flies away. And they do the action movie, narrowly get through a bunch of tight spaces. Thorough. It's all just thoroughly standard bog fare. Whatever. I'll take it. And Dal drops the unit into the shield emitter, and shields are back on. Dreadnought happens to be in mid-flight when the shields turn on, and Dreadnought bounces off the shield in a very cool scene. We get to see the shield very up close, like this. Dal slips back into one of the EVA hatches, and they're off. The protostar is now escaping the mining colony, much to the chagrin of Diviner, who is smashed out of his tube that he was in, his life support canister, screaming that he needs his ship back, and Dreadnought agrees. So now Dreadnought is going to be hot on her tail, trying to get the protostar back. Why does he need the protostar? The big question. Eh? We see this colony. At first we think, I thought we were mining dilithium or something, and then we're mining this other thing called chimerium or something like that. And then we find out we're mining to find the ship. But now I think the ship is just one cog in a bigger plot, okay? I think Diviner wanted the ship for something else. And I'm going into it much further than one probably should with these assumptions, because this is a serialized show, alright? Everything I'm saying is subject to change. Maybe everything I'm saying really means nothing, because this is one part of a larger story. Different kind of review structure. Our entire crew is together. Gwyn is essentially kidnapped. Gwyn is the one who is there not totally of her own accord. She is the daughter of the diviner, and now she has escaped the diviner and realized how big the stars were and that first taste of freedom, okay? Which I believe the diviner specifically stated that he didn't want Gwyn having been interfered with by the Federation. He mentions the Federation, and he doesn't want his operation being interrupted by the Federation. So the diviner is the one who is familiar with the Federation the most, if at all, compared to anyone else. Very curious as to why. Very curious as to how the protostar got there, because I believe we confirmed that this is after Janeway's return to the Alpha Quadrant, and this is after the project where Starfleet was sending experimental vessels into the Delta Quadrant in order to rescue Janeway and crew. What was it, Pathfinder? Is that what they call it? The Pathfinder program? Remember where they had experimental ships going to the Delta Quadrant? Anyway, this isn't that. This is something different, apparently. They're flying away, and one of them happens to say the word help. And the computer recognizes the word help and activates the crew training program hologram, which is Janeway. It's Holo Janeway. It's Jane-ogram. It's Cat Holo Jane-ogram. Is now on the bridge, looking young, but sounding old. She sounds a little old. I would have, now having seen it in motion and her voice, I would have preferred it if they actually made her a little older. Like, to still obviously Janeway, but age her a little bit and give her a new uniform to kind of bridge the gap, right? Because I believe this is after Voyager, right? So, yeah. Overall, we had Janeway at the end for a little stinger. Very standard. Nothing wrong. Nothing bad. Nothing absolutely amazing. But I did check the time as I was watching it to make sure I had more, which is a good sign. It means I wanted to see it till the end. So I was invested. So we're above a 5, people. Now the protostar. Here we go. This is the meat of this review. I love starships, being an engineer. The protostar, it's very Kelvin. It's very clean. It has a very bright white kind of bridge interior, but it's a bridge that it's not sufficiently receded into the hull, if you catch my drift. It looks like it has a transparent, the transparent walls of the bridge are one in the same wall with the outer hull, which I don't like. It looks like there's only one hull layer between them and the outside world. So we're going back to that Kelvin idea that nastily metastasized into Discovery, where we have windows out of the bridge, which we never had before because it's stupid. So we have this wraparound view screen bridge type thing. Makes for cool shots, but isn't believable in Star Trek. Okay? The one saving grace is that we're in the future, so we don't have to make up an excuse for why technology looks out of place. That's our one saving grace. The hull is very clean. It's a beautiful ship, certainly. It's very sleek. It's very pointy. It's very futuristic. It's undeniably Starfleet, but it's also undeniably Kelvin, which is bad. the nacelles are a big mistake. The nacelles are way too Kelvin. They're way too rounded. They look just like what we saw on the Constitution class from Star Trek 2009, which is Kelvin, of course, except for the Bassard ram scoops on the front are now receded. They're now convex, or concave, I should say. They're like in, right, instead of being like out. So we have these scooped Bassard collectors. And I think I saw key art where they were red, but I don't remember exactly seeing red light coming out of them in this episode. So we're hoping that we see red light coming out of it, because we need red Bassard collectors, unless we're talking about the Enterprise B Excelsior class. That one gets a pass for whatever reason. Yeah, we didn't get to see the strange third warp nacelle thing that it had in the trailer. Not trailer, I should say the intro. That intro, by the way, we saw the credited version of it at the end of this. So to avoid spoilers, they put the intro at the end. Smart move. Protostar, I liked it more when I first saw it. The more I see it, I like it less and less. But I'm going to settle on it and just say it's decent. It's a lot better than the Discovery. Not as good as the Cerritos. Is it even fair to compare anything to the La Sirena from Picard? Like, does La Sirena even count as a Star Trek ship? Like, it looks exactly like any video game, any sci-fi show that was just crapped out in the mid-2000s. The La Sirena is a disaster, so it's not even fair having it on this list. But, so just boing, that one out into space. And we have the Protostar middling between the Discovery and the Cerritos. So, again, standard fare for a standard show. This was Star Trek Prodigy, Lost and Found, the first episode of Star Trek Prodigy. I am looking forward to see where we're going with it. I'm going to have to give this one a very solid 6.5. Very solid 6.5. We're not reaching the high watermark of Lower Decks, but we're not into the lower depths of Discovery and Picard. So you can rest easy. This is not a disaster. And most importantly, there's no horrific curse words or ugly jokes that you have to deal with. In many ways, this show felt like it was more for adults than anything I've seen from Star Trek since 2005. This felt thoroughly adult. What was childish about this? Anyone watch it and elucidate me on what was childish about this show? This show was ostensibly specifically for children, as they stated, but yet it felt like an adult show. Which is good. Music-wise, Michael Giacchino, or Giacchino, I don't know how to pronounce it. He did the music for the Kelvin Timeline movies. He's back here doing the intro theme and just the main theme for Prodigy. And you can tell it's his work. It's very good. It's got some good ideas. And it's got an interesting musical motif to it that can play at key moments. But his music, I mean, it all sounds the same. It's the same. Like, Star Trek 2009 sounds exactly like the soundtrack he did for Doctor Strange. Listen to them. Go compare them. They're the exact same piece of music. And this has notes of the same flavor from Star Trek 2009, which makes sense because they're both Star Trek, but still, it's just standard. It's not, doesn't blow me away, the music. Of course, I haven't been blown away with Star Trek music for a long time, buddy, but it is what it is. So, visuals, beautiful, with ugly little nasty spots in the middle, biting into a yummy big bowl of Jell-O, and then one little weird crunchy nugget in it. Ugh. that's the graphics of this show, and I do mean graphics because it is 3D CGI. Music, standard Giacchino fare. Story, standard 2000s kid movie plot, standard character archetypes. And the ship is just kind of standard. So, if you want standard, you can watch this. It's a lot better than having your eye drilled out in Picard. You know, I'll give it that. It's better than vomiting from the nasty camera work in Discovery and having everything be so dark you can't even see it. So, I mean, when the bar is so low, it's next to the core of the Earth. It doesn't take much of a jump to get over that bar. So, this has been Star Trek Prodigy. I'm Lieutenant Mark, and right now, you're going to close this video, and then hopefully open the next video next week. Alright? Goodbye.